Thank you to the Chazaq organization for inviting me to give this shir, and thank you everybody for joining this Shovavim shir. I'd like to dedicate this shir for Rabbi Avram Twersky. He's been instrumental in helping guard your eyes in so many ways. So I wanted to speak to you guys tonight about there's many parallels between Yetzias Mitzrayim and our struggle with the Yetzer Hara. We're in the middle of Shovavim now. So why is Shovavim a time for tshuva and tikkun abris? Why specifically now, these weeks? So these are the weeks when we read about Yetzias Mitzrayim, and it says in the Sfarim that what we read down on this world is ma'orer the zman in the worlds above. So it's a time that's very mesugal to leave Mitzrayim during these weeks. So you may ask, we're not in Mitzrayim. What do you mean to leave Mitzrayim? So that's what I wanted to talk about a little. The pasuk says, "Leval nidach mimenu nedach." Every single Jew is going to have to come to their ultimate tikkun, by hook or by crook. Everybody's going to get there in the end. Some people will get there the easy way, through the path of the Torah, which Hashem gave us the Torah to make it easy for us. Derachel darchei noyam, ubacharta b'chaim. Choose life. But if not, sometimes we have to get hit on the head till we find our way to where we need to get to, as the famous mashal with the GPS, keeps rerouting us. The GPS only has our best interest in mind, obviously, and the GPS would never do anything to harm us, obviously. And yet, every time we make a wrong turn, it takes longer, and it has to reroute us. Sometimes it takes us through difficult territory, but it's always trying to find the fastest way to get us to where we need to get to. So it's the same with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we take the wrong turn sometimes in life, so he has to reroute us, but he's always trying to get us to where we need to in the fastest and quickest path. So breaking our nature is not an easy thing to do, and often we need to go through a lot of nisyonos and a lot of trials and tribulations to purify our neshama and bring us to the tikkun and full potential that we can reach. So we mention Yetzias Mitzrayim every day, a few times. 50 times mentioned in the Torah, Yetzias Mitzrayim, because it's relevant to us all the time. It's really a mashal to life. Pharaoh is like the Yetzer Hara. He wants to keep us in Mitzrayim, which is, the word Mitzrayim is a lashon of Mitzarim. It's like boundaries. Like we say on Shabbos, Nachala beli Mitzarim, Nachala without boundaries, an inheritance without boundaries. So Mitzrayim and Mitzarim are the same words. Basically the same letters. So Eretz Mitzrayim means Eretz, a lashon of Ratzon, desires with a limitation. Basically, Eretz Mitzrayim means desires with a limitation. That's the nature of the physical world. A person's hungry, they eat and they're full. They can't continue having pleasure from food after a certain point. Like an empty cup, once it's, you fill it up, it's full. But with spiritual pleasures, it's called a Nachala b'li Mitzarim. There are no boundaries, no limits. It's infinite in nature. And Hashem wants to give us infinite pleasure, not limited. So he wants us to leave Mitzrayim and to, go for the real thing. So we all have in us this story of Mitzrayim, both the Pharaoh and the Jewish people, both of them. And we can look at the Makkos and see some incredible parallels between, the 10 Makkos and the Yetzer Hara, who's the Pharaoh inside of us. So Hashem wants to wake us up, and he sends us the first makkah, let's say dam, right? So he sends us a test or some suffering. And at first the Yetzer Hara ignores it, like we see by Pharaoh. He says, Vayifen Pharaoh, Vayovo el Beisai, Veloshas liboy gam lazois. Pharaoh turned around, he went home, and he didn't pay attention to the makkah's dam. He just ignored it. So then Hashem sends another makkah to us to wake us up, and something starts to waken up inside of us. Tzvardeya. So Pharaoh asks Moshe, Vayomer hatiru el Hashem. Pharaoh says to Moshe, daven to Hashem, take away these tzvardim from me, and I'll send you. You could go to, sacrifice to your God. But it's just words. He's not really ready to let us go. The Pharaoh inside of us isn't ready to let the Jew inside of our hearts to leave Mitzrayim and to serve Hashem. So then Hashem sends Kinim, and then the Khartoumim tell him, wow, etzba alekim hi. They see the hand of Hashem. They see the finger of Hashem. We start to see Hashem more in our lives. He's speaking to us. But we still are not ready, to really let go of our self-will Then comes Arov, the wild animals, and Pari calls to Moshe and Aaron. He says, go serve, go sacrifice to your God, Ba'aretz. Ba'aretz means in the land. Don't leave. You can serve Hashem, but stay in Mitzrayim. Stay in your Ratzon. Eretz, again, is a lashon of Ratzon. You can serve Hashem, just like those who serve Avodah Zarah. They're really not serving anything. They're serving themselves. They're only serving the idol for their own sake. So Pari says, you can serve Hashem like that. Serve Hashem, but stay in your own Ritzinus. So what does Moshe answer him? Moshe says, it's impossible to do that. Giving up our desires, our will to Hashem, is really the diametric opposite of what Mitzrayim stands for. We can't stay in our Ratzon and sacrifice to Hashem. It doesn't make sense. It's an oxymoron. So after that, Pari says, okay, I'll let you serve Hashem a little. You can do some mitzvahs. Don't go too far. As soon as you're done davening or learning, come back to Mitzrayim. Continue being steeped in our own will. That's what the Yetzer Hara says to us. Okay, fine, I'll let you go serve Hashem a little, but don't go far. But even this, he wasn't really ready to do, because when it's not real, it's not real. So we get hit again. Dever. He hardened his heart and didn't let the people out. Then comes Shchin, Vayichazik Hashem es leiv parei v'lo shama aleim, and Hashem was mechazik his heart again, and he didn't listen to them. What does it mean Hashem was mechazik his heart? If Parei is really inside of us, if it's really the Yetzer Hara, why would Hashem harden our hearts? Why would he do that to us? Now the answer is very deep. It's because Hashem knows when we're ready or we're not ready yet really to let go. We might want to serve Hashem to avoid suffering, but he knows it's not going to last because it's still just for ourselves. So what he does is he hardens our heart so he can continue to humble us and teach us who's really in charge. And then Barad comes, the hail with the fire, and Pari finally says, Hashem atzadik v'ani v'ami yoreshoim. The person starts to see the evil inside of him. He starts to see the lies of the Yetzer Hara for what they really are. And Pari says, I'll let you go. I'll let you go. You won't have to stay anymore. But he doesn't really mean it. Again comes the locust, Arba, and he starts to break. He says, okay, go. But who's going? So Moshe says, everyone. Everyone's going to go. So Pari gets angry and he says, no way. Only the strong people should go. Only the Gvarim. Gvarim is a lashon of strength, of when you're feeling it, when you're feeling strong in Avodas Hashem, when you really feel that inspiration, okay, that's when you could go serve Hashem. But, it's not for the wives and for the daughters and for the children. In other words, when we're not really feeling it, when we're not feeling that strength and whatever, that's not for you, So Moshe says, no way. We're all going to go serve Hashem. All a part of us. Even our physical, our tzayin and our bakar. And that Pari can't take anymore. He says, get out of here. Comes Choshech, the darkness, and we start to feel that tremendous darkness, and we realize there's no way. We have to serve Hashem. There's no way out of this. Finally, Pari breaks and says, okay, go serve Hashem. Leave your animals in Mitzrayim, he says. I let you go, I let your children go, your wives, everything, whether you're feeling it or not, but at least the animal aspects of your lives, leave those in Mitzrayim. Leave those for me. What does that mean? In other words, when you're eating, when you're sleeping, when you're doing physical acts, that should be for yourselves. When you need to serve Hashem, okay, so go serve Hashem. But when you act physically in this world, that you should leave in Mitzrayim. What does Moshe answer him? No. You also will give us zvachim and oilis. You're going to give us also karbanis. In other words, through the Yetzer Hara and through the physical acts in the world that we live in, we're going to serve Hashem. With both of your Yitzarim. And then Moshe says to him, from there, dafka, we're going to take to serve Hashem. Dafka from Arbahamias, dafka from the struggle with the Yetzer Hara, we're going to serve Hashem. Know Hashem in all your ways. Okay, that's too much for Pari. He says, get out of here. If you come back to me again, you're going to die. So Hashem finally makes Makas Bechiris, and every Jew has to come to this by hook or by crook. The Yetzer Hara has to be broken, the ego has to be broken until Pari finally says, Lechu, Ivdu es Hashem kasher dibartem, Gam tzoinchem, gam bekarchem kechu, go serve Hashem like you spoke, take also your animal natures and go and beirachtem gam oisi. In other words, the Yetzer Hara realizes that through our using the physical world to serve Hashem, uberachtem gam oisi, we actually uplift the Yetzer Hara. We give the Yetzer Hara his tikkun. So that was the first parsha of Boy. Now we're holding by Beshalach, and Beshalach is when we come to the Yam Suf. The question is, if Yetzias Mitzrayim symbolizes our struggle with the Yetzer Hara, and finally we break free of Mitzrayim and we're following Hashem into the Midbar, why did the Yidden need to go through this whole process of Kriyas Yam Suf? I thought they already, broke free. Pari let them out. And why did Pari change his mind? And what was he thinking? And lastly, why does it say Vahi Beshalach Pari es ha'am? When Pari sends out the people, Pari sent out the people? I mean, didn't Hashem force him to? Pari didn't do it from his own will. So why does it say Vahi Beshalach Pari as if it was his decision? So to understand the answer to these questions, to understand the depth of what the Torah is telling us here, you see, the first place that the Yidden went to after they left Mitzrayim was called Sukkos. And Sukkos means that they came under the Kanfei Ashchina. Hashem went before them by day with the Anon and by night with the fire. Lech teich acharai bamidbar be'eretz lo zarua. Come after me in the Midbar, Hashem says, in a place that's without food. Trust in me. Just follow me into the wilderness. Let go of your own will. After hundreds of years in Mitzrayim, the Yetzer Hara finally saw he has no choice to let us serve Hashem, but it's really not easy to let go of our self-will. When we try to let go of the Yetzer Hara, and we finally say, okay, we're leaving Mitzrayim, we're going now after Hashem into the Midbar, the Yetzer Hara reawakens. And he says, oh my gosh, what did we do here that we let the Yidden out of Mitzrayim? How could we have done that? He took 600 chariots. 600 is the gematria of sheker. He took with him sheker and he chased after the Yidden. What did he take? What was the sheker that Pari took? The root of all sheker is that there's another valid will. Hashem has his will and I have my will. That's the root of all sheker. Now the Yetzer Hara uses taiva and kavod and all these things as like a bribe to get us to believe that there's also a valid will besides Hashem. Like if you give a judge a bribe, your goal is not to get the judge to take the bribe. Your goal is to get the judge to twist the judgment. So when the Yetzer Hara uses taiva and kavod and these things, his goal is not that we should just have taiva. His goal is that we should believe the sheker that my will is also valid, that there's not just HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what Pari chased after the Yidden with that sheker, with the 600 chariots, which is gematria sheker. He's running after us and saying, how could we have let the Yidden out of Mitzrayim? How could we let go of our self-will as if my will doesn't mean anything? And the Yidden Taka felt this pain, and they said to Moshe, what have you done to us to take us out of Mitzrayim? We told you, let us serve Mitzrayim. Chadal mimenu v'navdas Mitzrayim, ki tov lo na'avodas Mitzrayim imuseinu b'midbar. Yes, it's not pleasant to be a slave to our own Yetzer Haras, but if we let go of our self-will, we'll surely die. So it's better to let us stay in Mitzrayim than we should die in the Midbar. Upari Hikriv, Pari was getting closer, and the Lashon of Hikriv means he was Mekarev us. He was Mekarev us to Hashem. Because at that point we realized there's no escape from the Yetzer Hara. Our very nature, we can't live without our self-will, and if we do, we feel we'll drown in the sea. The sea is in front of us, Pari's chasing after us, and that's when we realize that only Hashem can save us. You see, the 10 Makkos convinced us that we have no choice. In our own self-interest, it's better to serve Hashem. But Pari still thought that he let us out. That's why it says, Vahi b'shalach Pari yasa'am. We still think that it's our choice, that we're the ones deciding that it's worth it for us. Vahi b'shalach Pari yasa'am. We still want to hold on to our self-will a little bit. And Hashem played along. They looked like they're confused. Hashem wanted to give Pari this illusion that he could still change his mind and that his will was still a factor. And we come to the sea and we're stuck and we really have no way to let go. We're between a rock and a hard place. In the 12-step program for people who are addicted to all types of bad behaviors, it's a known thing that the only way for them to really learn how to let go and let Hashem help them is when they hit bottom. They have to really hit bottom and realize that they're stuck. There's no way out. And the Kriyas Yamsuf was really hitting bottom for Klal Yisrael. There was this true recognition that on the one hand, we're being chased by our self-will, and we can't escape it. And on the other hand, if we let go of it, we're going to drown in the Yam. There was nowhere for us to go. And that recognition gave us a tremendous koyach of dependence on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Hashem said to us, Ma titzak elai, why do you need to cry out to me? Daber el b'nei Yisrael v'so, go, just go. Now, what does that mean? Why are you crying out to me? Isn't this the ultimate time to cry out to you when we feel completely stuck? So I was thinking that maybe the purpose of tefillah is to bring us to that hakara. In other words, why do we daven when we need something? It's to ingrain inside of us that only Hashem can do it for us. We really can't do anything ourselves. So we daven and we daven until we ingrain this idea into ourselves. And that's when our tefillahs can really have an impact. Now, since the Yidden reached this recognition on their own, they were so cognizant of this, of being chased by their self-will on the one hand and not being able to let go of it on the other hand. At that point, they didn't even need tefillah anymore because they already had the tachlis of tefillah. They already had that complete recognition that they need HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that's why Hashem says, you don't need to daven anymore. Just go. Ma titzak elai. You already know that only I can help. Hashem yilochem lachem v'atem tacharishun. Hashem will fight for you, and you will be still. But what did Hashem mean, go? Go where? I should go into the sea? I should drown? So here's the thing. You see, recognizing that we can't do it and that only Hashem can help us is very important. But there's still a missing component here. That missing component is that we have to do it anyway. Chazal tell us that Nachshon jumped in and he went, even though it made no sense. What, I'm going to drown? The water was up to his nose. He cried out, Hoshieni alikim ki bo mayim ad nofesh, save me Hashem, water has reached. I'm going to drown. And at that moment, the sea split. In other words, on the one hand, we need to know that we can't. But then we have to believe that Hashem can and do it anyways, even if it feels like we're going to die. And that's why Hashem said, go. Now that you know only I can help, you just need to go into the sea and it'll split. Now, this takes a high level of emunah to completely let go of the self and jump into the sea. You see, it's one thing to know that we can't, but to know that we can't and do it anyway, that's Mesiras Nefesh. And that's the lashon of Nachshon. Nachshon is a lashon of nechishut, the determination and the courage to go forward in spite of knowing that he can't, having the faith to do it anyway, going beyond your understanding. And only then do we merit the true freedom from Mitzrayim. So Nachshon reached this level at the Kriyas Yamsuf, but it took the Yidden another 49 days to get to that level after the Bereshel Miriam and all the Nisim that they experienced, where they were finally able to reach that level and say Nasa v'nishma. That's when they got the Torah, when they're able to do without understanding. It says, Bo Chavakuk ve'amido nalachas. Habakkuk summed up the entire Torah in one word. Tzadik be'emunah yichyeh. Tzadik will live in his faith. The whole Torah is emunah. It's basically about doing without understanding. And in the 12-step program also, they talk about surrender, letting go. And, you know, it's hard to understand what that really means, letting go. What does it mean, surrender? I shouldn't fight? So fighting means that if I just tried harder, I think I would be able to do it. I believe that if I just tried harder, I could do it. But we often fail because it's really too strong for us. But surrender means that I know I can't, but I do it anyway because Hashem can. It's like jumping off a cliff because I know Hashem is there to catch me. This attitude is so powerful, this attitude of surrender, that it helps thousands of people break free from addictions. But we can use this attitude for every struggle that we have, for regular Shmiras Einayim as well. You know, sometimes we see something or we're pulled to look at something and it seems just too tempting, too strong. We can tell ourselves, it is too strong. I can't turn away, but I'll do it anyway because Hashem is there to catch me. He takes care of my needs. I can let go. So even though I feel like I can't, and, you know, like we ask ourselves, do I have the strength to turn away from this? It's too strong. I don't think I can. No discussion. I admit it's stronger than me, but I don't care if I can or I can't because Hashem could. And he's with me. Koyve Hashem yachalifu koyach. We change our koyach with Hashem. We get Hashem's strength. We no longer need to use our own strength. But only if we jump off the cliff and trust him do we get Hashem's strength. And this is really the secret of beating the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is way stronger than us. There's no way for us to beat him. But Hashem doesn't expect us to fight him. Ein HaMelech noisha b'rav chayil. Hashem is not looking for strength. Hashem just wants hamiyachalim lechastoi lehatzil mimoves nafsham. He wants us to hope to him, and he should save us from death. The more we realize that the Yetzer Hara is death, and we cry out to Hashem to save us from death, the more we're willing to do what feels like death and hope to Hashem. And that's when we merit true freedom from the Yetzer Hara and from Mitzrayim. That's what Nasev Nishma means, basically. It means doing without understanding. Ready to jump, even if our understanding says you're going to die, we jump anyway. Chazal say, Ein lecha ben chayrin ela misha oisik b'Torah. You don't have a free man except who learns the Torah, who is mekabel on himself the oil of Torah. Al tikre chorus ala luchos ela cheirus. True freedom comes from this ability to jump off without understanding. My understanding says I'm going to die, but I'm jumping anyway because Hashem is with me. I know that that's what I need to do. So what's the takeaway from this whole drasha? What can we learn from this whole process of Yetzias Mitzrayim and Kriyas Yamsuf? So basically the first step is, again, that we need to know that one way or another, we got to serve Hashem. That's why the Yidden had to go down to Mitzrayim in the first place. They would never have been willing to say Nasev Nishma if they didn't understand first the idea that they could either be a slave to Pharaoh or a servant of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's no two ways about it. That's the way this world works. And it was only because they had gone through Mitzrayim that they realized how much sweeter it is to be a servant of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Goyim, who never went through Mitzrayim, never went through the Kura Barzel, so they weren't willing to say Nasev Nishma. Why should they? What's in it for me? But the Yidden understood that there's either a slave to Pari Mitzrayim or an Evet HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the derech of the Torah. And now we're going through all a hard time with Corona, and a lot of people going through very difficult times. Hashem doesn't want us to suffer. But sometimes we have to go through certain things until we are ready to be Mekabel al Malchus Shamayim and say, who do we want to be servants of? But that's only stage one. In the second stage, we have to realize that we really can't let go. We thought we're going to let go because it's in our best interest, but we can't, because Hashem wants us to let go in a much deeper way, not just because we feel like letting go, because we realize it's good for me. Hashem wants us to let go on a higher level than that. So he makes us realize that we really can't let go. We have to be honest about that and cry out to Hashem. Hashem, I can't let go of my ritzonos. I can't let go of my self-will, of my desires. They're too strong for me. But then the last stage is we do it anyway. We jump in. And that's when the sea splits and we become truly free of Mitzrayim. And these attitudes take a lot of work. And that's why I suggest everyone join the Guard Your Eyes community. Thousands of Yidden who are walking together in the desert after HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And sometimes we'll succeed in surrendering our desires. Sometimes Pare will drag us backwards. But together we'll get there in the end, Rabbi Isai. So you can sign up to get the daily Chizuk broadcasts in your WhatsApp or your email. Every day you'll get Chizuk. Join our forums, join our phone conferences and tools to learn how to break free of Mitzrayim. So may we be Zoicha this Shovavim to truly break free from the slavery of Mitzrayim and to be Zoicha to the coming of Mashiach. B'meher v'yameinu amen.